said we're live. How do you feel about that, being live on camera with your papa?
Awesome.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
You love it. Good evening. I'm Matt Monero. This is my son, Julian the Juice Monero, and he wanted to jump in tonight because the Juicer is now on Instagram, and that's the big announcement. The Juicer is on Instagram.
I've had Instagram before, but I deleted it because I just don't know why I needed social media.
Oh.
So then I downloaded it 3 days ago, and I'm looking for some followers, guys. So you gotta click that button and subscribe. I'm not subscribed. Just follow me at Julian_Monero.
Oh, that's so funny. It's Julian _Monero or just Julian Monero?
Well, it's Julian like space, which like kind of makes a little under thing, and then Monero. No caps, anything.
So why would somebody want to follow you on Instagram? What view would they get of your life? What would they see?
Well, number one, they would catch up with my life. They would see how you're doing, kind of on mine. So it's like a double podcast.
Oh, because we do a lot of stuff together?
Yeah. Hunting it was a big thing. Football is a big thing. And then lifting is a big thing.
Lifting, because you're getting big.
Getting massive.
Massive.
Yes, sir.
Is that one of your goals, is to get real swole?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there you go. So, guys, it's Julian the Juice Monero, and it's Julian Monero on Instagram.
It's Julian Space Monero.
Julian Space. I bet if you just typed in Julian Monero in your search bar, you would find this kid. Just before you go and we get into tonight's episode or tonight's discussion, you got to see that a lot of people are saying hi to you right here.
Yeah, I did.
Right? You got my friend Ronnie Phillip jumping in saying hi, Julian. You got a bunch of people jumping on saying hello to you, buddy. So,
and whenever you follow me, make sure to click in the comments and on the Instagram live and say, and Facebook, and say I'm done or something like that. So
what do you mean, that they followed you?
They followed me.
Are you looking for confirmation?
I'll be checking too.
You'll be
I'll be checking.
You'll be looking for familiar names?
Yeah.
Julian is the youngest of my three boys, and this kid's a piece of work. We call him the Juicer, but boy, is he a piece of work. Huh? You're like a chip off the old block, aren't you?
Definitely.
Well, tell everybody what you like to do. Like, if you could just do one thing, what would it be?
I know I'm gonna get this in the future, not from you, but from John, Jack, and I.
Your brothers.
My brothers. Is a ranch, or like at least where we could just hunt whenever, have our little mule, and then shotguns, Beretta 400 camo.
That's the plan. You and your brothers are gonna get a ranch.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go hunting all the time.
With our kids and stuff.
Oh, no kidding! You think Mom and I could come?
Yeah.
How often can we come? What?
Big goals.
Big goals. There you go. Not guilty. 1111 on Instagram just asked if you jump in the cold water swims too. Do you do the cold water swims?
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
You love it, big guy. You love it. All right. Welcome to everybody who's jumped on. I appreciate it. Are you coming back?
I'll be back at the end so that all the people who weren't in the podcast.
You're gonna double check you. I promise you. He's gonna double check y'all. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're doing great. I hope we're planning a good week this week. It doesn't happen by accident. It absolutely happens by purpose and by intention. So I hope everybody's doing great. I want to shout out to everybody here, too, who's jumping in. I love that we have so many familiar faces that are popping in these days. I would still love to get a little bit larger, a lot larger from an audience standpoint. So if you guys would share it, that would be awesome. And tell your friends about what we're doing. Every night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm jumping on Instagram and Facebook to just tell you how you get your business from here, or you get it from here to here. And I'll give you all the strategies that I've done from taking a business from a dumpy one-bedroom apartment to $158 million last year. So I'm all over that in an effort to help you. And then in return, I'm going to give you lots of discounts and deals and all that sort of stuff. Hey, Shugs, will you close this door? Rock, will you just come and close this door real quick? will you come and close this door real quick for me? Thank you. And lots of discounts. So first discount for tonight is go to bfssummit.com, put in the code MATT, M-A-T-T, all caps 400, and get $400 off of my event that's coming up. Let's hit some questions right away. A lot of people jumping out to Julian. Thank you guys for your support on that. He's such a great kid. I'm sure you guys have great kids as well, and he's an awesome one. So there's a question on Insta that says, do I think you can make money fixing up junk cars or buying up junk cars and fixing them? Of course. The only rub with that is most of those will come with a blue title. A blue title, for those who don't know, is a salvage title, and that immediately limits financing. It eliminates the type of buyer, the larger buyer base that you can get your hands on. Over the years, I've done a tremendous amount of work with a company called Copart. And if you know about buying junky cars and fixing them up, you know about Copart. But fantastic deals. I just not a place I would play in. I don't want to do blue titles. I don't want to do subprime credit. I like business to be simple and probable and leverageable. I'm not interested in these one-off things. And I'm not saying that what you're looking to do is small, because there are people that I know who buy a tremendous amount of cars on Copart and ship them overseas or put them on the frame straightener and fix them. Just seems to me like a type of a headachy business to me. So not really exactly what I'm looking for, but there is some money to be made in that. There's no question about that. So the one thing I want to talk about tonight, guys, is this thing. As you go into this week, I'd like you to be prepared. I just put out the podcast. It launched on Friday. It's my favorite podcast of close to 170 podcasts that we've done. The You Need More Money podcast. It is my favorite. It is my favorite podcast that we've done, and it's the Give a Shit podcast. I need you to hold the people that you work with highly accountable for giving a shit, caring about your organization, caring about your department, caring about your business, and doing extra things that will get the business to the next level without you having to manage all of it. And I'll give you an example. For those of you, if you just put a shout out if you've listened to the podcast or watched it on YouTube, it's the You Need More Money podcast. It lives on wherever you get your podcast from, you can get it. But we also videotape it and we put it on my YouTube channel, Matt Monero, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and you can see it. But the latest episode, I think it's episode 167, 168, might be 169, is called the Give a Shit episode. Now, here's why it matters. And in the podcast, I give an example of what I'm talking about. But for many years, I would manage salespeople in my office to their miss. And what I mean by that is, let's say someone had to do $500,000 a month in truck financing. Let's use that as an example because it relates to my business, commercial fleet financing, where we finance truckers. And they had to do $500,000 a month. That was the expectation. That was the minimum number to keep their job, to be happy there, right? And I had this one guy. He worked with us for a couple years, and he would always miss. Instead of hitting 500,000, let's just say that he was hitting 350,000 a month. And what ended up happening was I spent so much time questioning and wondering and managing and beating him up about that miss between 350 and 500. You know the gap that I'm talking about. You guys work with people, you manage people, you own a business in which people work in it and they consistently miss, and you're managing to this gap. But what I really missed by managing to that gap was I missed the upside. I missed understanding the upside that happens when that person does better than the expectations because they downright give a shit, right? They just give a damn about success and delivering extra value. And what you end up missing is that 500,000 to 600,000 to 700,000 to 800,000. You miss the gap that happens above the expectation when you're just managing the difference, the gap between the expectation. I hope I described that clearly for you. But there's a third element to it as well, which is when someone consistently misses the expectation, the reality is they begin to hurt your business. And that, I think, is something that is a line item expense that is completely unmanaged in business today. We are not understanding that the low-level employees, the people that disappoint, the people that miss the expectations, the people who don't give a shit, are actually hurting our businesses. And here's how I know this. When we called into those customers that salesperson, who's certainly no longer with us, was working to, even to the 350,000, they were all a little bit disgruntled. He made it difficult for them to do business with us. He didn't return phone calls on time. In fact, sometimes he never even returned phone calls. So people were like, I wanted to do business with you, but I couldn't get this guy on the phone. And then there was also that element of the shit talking, right? Where he was so concerned about the miss and management beating on him that he began to talk shit, that it was the company's problem that he missed, right? And so what you end up with when you have employees who don't give a shit, you end up actually having your business hurt by them. And so I just want to remind you, in this 3-phase of analyzing how you determine this, most of us are managing the gap, that 350 to 500, whatever that is, that X number of sales, and they keep coming up short. And therefore, we miss the upside benefit. Isn't it awesome when somebody comes in and they've got to sell 20 of whatever in the month, and they end up selling 25, the upside is 5? That's awesome, right? Feels fantastic. Well, you miss that when you're fighting for someone to hit their minimums. But then the big one is that most people who don't give a shit are actually hurting your business. And that is the line item, the expense item, the opportunity cost that almost nobody really sees. And so I challenge you, as you go into the work week this week, who within your organization is actually that person? Who is that person who you know really no longer gives a shit, but you're still managing them to the gap between what they're producing and what their expectation is, and you're not spending any time thinking about what is the hurt that's being caused to the business. I want to give one last reason why this concept is so important, and I promise I'm going to go to questions from everybody. I'm going to get to everybody's question, I promise you, so stay with me on this. As the owner, you know what ends up happening? Because you're working with people who miss the gap, you can never get the wheel of your success spinning fast enough, because you're constantly having to make up for other people. You're doing your 100%, but you're doing somebody else's 30 or 40% because of the don't give a shit attitude. And that makes you Superman or Superwoman in your business. And eventually what you end up saying is, I will handle all of it. You'll start to say things like, get out of my way. You'll start to believe this silliness like, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. And then what happens is you start to get a little bit callous and a little bit nasty, and you actually stop trusting people. And then your success, the wheel of the speed, the wheel of your success begins to really slow down. And then you end up pretty much all by yourself doing everything, because you just don't think you can hire anybody to do it as good as you. And I'm challenging you, that is a terrible way to run a business. You have to trust and believe. And we teach all this stuff at Business Finishing School. I want you to come to my event in Dallas, February 22, 23, and 24. Go to bfssummit.com, bfssummit.com. That is the takeaway for tonight, and I hope that really resonated with some of you all. And so I want to jump on some questions right now. But if that really resonated with you, do me a favor and say, give me a thumbs up or give me a high five or something if that concept really resonated with you, and that maybe you'll spend a little bit more time focusing on it this week. Who is that person? And are those things that miss above the expectation or the hurting of your business beginning to raise its ugly head? Do to fix it too, if anybody wants to do that. So let's welcome some people. Jason Wasser and Michael Wheaton and Justin Wood joined. Dave Heil, my partner. Welcome, my buddy. Justin just jumped on. Awesome, I love that. Eric Carpet says he got benefit from it. Not guilty, got benefit from it. Eric Carpet says really got benefit from it. That's awesome. Remember, guys, thank you, Jimbo Carroll says he got benefit from it. I'm telling you guys, that is not something that, I learned in some business school thing. Hell, I went to cooking school. Dude, that is real life paying for employees who don't give a shit, allowing them to get away with it for a long period of time, building up my own Superman complex that says, get out of my way, I'll do it, not delegating, and then eventually blowing them out and realizing, oh my God, this whole time I was managing to something that I shouldn't have been managing to. I should have been managing to the above the expectation, or managing to, is this person really hurting my business? And they are hurting your business. Let's rock and roll on questions. Any questions that anybody has tonight, I appreciate it. I want to remind the gang that all of these replays, you can watch them on Facebook at Matt Manero on Facebook, not Matt Manero Fan. I'm doing these on my personal page on Facebook. And I've gone back earlier today and I titled each one of them. So you can watch, you know, the 10 or 11, or actually tonight's 13 that we've done. And you can just rewatch these replays and get this concept back. But I really want you to come to my business finishing school event where we will teach all of these concepts. Go to bfssummit.com, put in my code, capital MATT 400, you get $400 off. Let's rock and roll on some questions. Any question, there is no question off limits, but I would love to answer questions specifically to the example I just gave about what on earth do you do with this person who you know just doesn't downright give a shit anymore. But yet, guess what? You're still paying their ass. You're still stroking their check. You're still making that direct deposit because you're just not sure how to handle it. Can you imagine that? Can you believe that? Dude, we've all done that. Hell, raise your hand on the stream. Put it in the comment section if you've done that as well. The question is, what do you do to not do that anymore? That's the big question. And also, how much damage is that person or even persons doing to your organization? Because I promise you, they are hurting the organization, all right? Let's see what we got. The real Dave Foy says, Matt is awesome. Dude, I appreciate you saying that. It's nice. Casey Dyer says, what do you do? I'm not sure who you're referencing. If you're asking me, I'll always tell you. I finance truckers. We have financed tens of thousands of truckers, the big rigs that go up. We have thousands of those companies. Started from a one-bedroom dumpy apartment 23 years ago from nothing. And last year, the company did $158 million. We've done close to $2 billion in big rigs since we started. So Casey, I don't know if you were referencing that to me, but I ain't never afraid to tell people what I do. I also have written a couple books. This is my most recent book, You Need More Money, on Amazon. And this is The Grit, which is also available on Amazon. I'll give you The Grit free of charge tonight. If you want to go to mattmanero.com/grit download, you can have this book for free, or you can order the hard copy on Amazon. And then my last giveaway before we constantly dig into the questions again is go to bfssummit.com, type in MATT, capital MATT 400, and get 4 big ones off of my event, which is in Dallas, Texas on February 22, 23, and 24. It will blow your mind away. Our speakers are Tim Story, Elena Cardone, myself, my partner, my business partner, Rick Sapio, my friend Hoss Pratt, my friend Jen Shields, my friend Rand Stagen, Dr. Ivan Meisner. Sick lineup. The title of the event is Transformation Now, the roadmap to radical results. And I promise you, you will get incredible value for it. Justin Wood says, also, how do you enforce those expectations? You lay them out. You make sure that there's total clarity from everyone on all fronts. And then you create rhythms once a week. You sit down with them and determine how are we doing to these objectives to reach these expectations. And when they miss, you simply say, you know, what are we going to do? Hey, because here's what happens. We begin to actually shut down, and maybe we don't even talk about it with them for maybe a month or 2 months or 3 months. Sometimes you might even come to the office and you don't even say hi to them anymore, but you're still paying them. What a mistake is that, right? So you got to do what we teach in Business Finishing School. The first thing is you got to have core values, mission statement, catalyzing statement. You have expectations, you have objectives, you have metrics to the objectives, KPIs, key performance indicators, and then you have rhythms to review that once a week with your key people. That is how you stay in front of the problem. And like my friend Coach Burt says, eventually you have to coach them up or you have to coach them out. But what most of us do is think that the individual will get better on their own. The individual will not get better without care from the ownership or management, the clearly defined expectations. I believe most people do not know what their expectation is. Salespeople literally don't know how much business they need to produce every month to keep their job. And then you got to train the heck out of them. You've got to give them access to training. You've got to sit down with them and role play with them and skill them up and walk them through the process of how it all works, okay? Cool. Tommy Santel just joined. Nice to see you, Tommy. Fred Ward just joined. That's awesome. Moving over to Instagram just for a second. Do you think hemp is a good business? Dude, I don't know anything about hemp. I certainly don't think marijuana is a good business. There's no room in success for that stuff in my mind. I know some people might argue with that, but let me tell you something. The most successful people I know don't have problems with drugs or alcohol in any capacity whatsoever. In fact, they have such unbelievable discipline that boom in their lives. That crap has been starved out. Highly unsuccessful people seem to have lots of room to allow that stuff to creep in. In fact, it becomes a topic, right? You know, is tonight a night that we're going to open up a bottle of wine, honey? You know, who's got my weed? Where am I going to get my doobie from? Dude, that shit don't fly when you're on purpose and you're moving at a high speed, a high velocity. So I understand the difference between hemp and marijuana, but I don't like neither of them, okay? It's just not even a space that I'll play. I'm going to leave that to all the other guys. There's plenty of room in many other businesses for me to not have to care about hemp, okay? Let's see what else we got. Ryan would like to know, how did I get away from being Superman in CFF? It's a great question. I visualized the future and I said, could the next 20 years look like the last 20 years? And I said, no, they can't. I cannot do this amount of work with this level of chaos in my business for another 20 years, despite huge success and growth and profits. It was a very draining system because I was in charge of all of it. And most days I was a freaking lunatic, downright maniac. Fly off the handle, flip desks, break laptops, yell, scream. I was a lunatic. And I went to this class called Business Finishing School, and it taught me the roadmap to eliminate all of that kill Superman mindset. And I love the program so much that it took my business from $100 million to $158 million, and I bought half the company. That's why I want you to come to our event. I think I'm like the best testimonial that the business has. Not only did my business explode after it, and it was already very good, but all that chaos that was inside of it went away. So that's what we got cooking. So listen, everybody, I hope you have an incredible week. I want to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Fred says he was listening to the podcast, episode 167, the Give a Shit episode. Thank you, dude. I love that. I even had Hector Lamarck. For those of you who know Hector Lamarck from Primerica, he's a stud. He retweeted it. He listened to it today and thought it was so awesome. He retweeted it. It's really my favorite episode of 2018, even though we just launched it on Friday of 19. The Give a Shit episode is absolutely my favorite because I think it's so pervasive in business, and so many of us don't know how to deal with that employee or employees who just don't give a shit. It really scares me how we allow that to happen. We still pay people for having a bad attitude or not caring about the organization. It really, really frustrates me. It drives me crazy. So nice. Kendra Beerley just jumped on. Girl, when do you come back to the office? You have had the ultimate vacation, and I hope every minute of it was awesome for you, Kendra. We were all wondering, when's Kendra going to come back? We can't wait to see you back in the office. I think it's Tuesday. I think you come back on Tuesday. So we're excited to see you. Chris says, how do you separate yourself from the millions of others that want to do what you do when you first started out. Chris, I'm not sure what you mean by that. How do I separate myself? Dude, I'm doing my thing. I'm not doing somebody else's thing. I'm not chasing somebody. I wouldn't trade my life for any other person on the planet, period. And even when my life sucked financially in the early days, I don't think even then I would trade it. I love my movement forward. I would just like to be able to help more people. That's why I'm doing these streams, to be able to open up people's minds, to get to know me, to show them what they can learn from me, because I think I have an insight that's a little bit different. You know, some people in business started with a silver spoon. Some people, you know, have these massive partnerships that each person had their own role, and that's why the business took off. Dude, it was nothing. It was started from zero, nothing. And along the way, I met some incredible people like Kendra Beerley and others in my office. But the reality was, for the first decade of Commercial Fleet, it was nasty, dude. There was nobody to talk to. And I think that gives me a unique perspective. I think the other thing that gives me a unique perspective is, you know, we have financed tens of thousands of small businesses, and that's financed. We've looked at probably hundreds of thousands of small businesses through the financing process. And I think that gives me a very unique view of really what goes on in small business. And what a shame it is that so many small businesses are caught in the pain side of small business and never get through the tube. They never get on the pleasure side. And that's not for business owners. I think it's for people too, man. I think people actually never get through the tube. They actually start pushing right into the tube, and that's where it begins to get uncomfortable, whether it's financially or health or career. And they're just constantly, all they're doing is just entering the tube. They never get out. They never get out. They never get out. They never get out, because they don't have the grit and the force to just push through to the other side. All right. So listen, guys, I appreciate everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow night. Next week, we start the course of the torch, or I walk you through every night the step-by-step process of how you can torch your business, how you can torch what you like and actually get to what you love, how you can go from success to super successful by taking one step backwards to take 2 steps forward. So I'm happy to be with you guys. I want to just shout out to Kelsey. Thanks for being on. Tony, thanks for being on. J-Dub, thanks for being on. Fred, thanks for being on. Kendra, I'll see you on Wednesday. Jimbo says he's getting a takeaway every night of the month of January. I love that. Tonight's primary takeaway is as follows. I'll summarize. You have people in your organization that don't give a shit, and shame on you for letting that happen. Shame on you for paying them. Shame on you for not knowing how to talk to them. Shame on you for avoiding them. Shame on you for allowing them to avoid you. Shame on you for not having the proper expectations set for them. And once you get past the shame and you begin to fix it, because you get the expectations, you start to set the objectives, you start to manage to the objectives, you start to create the key performance indicators, you install the rhythm so we can talk about it like adults, then you have every right to say that you did everything that you needed to do to help them. And if they still don't give a shit, blow their ass out. If you want to learn the process that I'm talking about of all of that stuff, from core values, mission statement, catalyzing statement, setting objectives, the KPIs that connect to the objectives, the metrics that connect to the KPIs, and establishing that rhythm in your business and in your life, you've got to come to my event, Business Finishing School. Go to bfssummit.com. I'm taking away the code tomorrow. Tonight it is $400 off. It's $299 for you to come for a 2.5-day event right in Dallas, Texas. You're crazy not to come. Go to bfssummit.com, type in MATT400. That's the code for tonight, and take advantage of this massive discount. I appreciate everybody. I'm going to just run through real quick to just see a few more questions if anybody's got some. See what we got. Thank you for the lives. Thank you for the lives. You'll lose a lot of employees by leaving them in your business. I'm not sure what that means, Justin. that you'll lose them. I'm not sure what that means. I think what you might mean is you'll lose a lot of clients by leaving them, or maybe what you mean is that you'll lose other employees who's like, I'm sick and tired of it. I can't deal with these people. Dude, do not discount the gravitational pull of a shitty attitude. You may have someone who walks in on Monday morning who has a great attitude that prepared on Sunday night and says, this is going to be a great week. And they sit next to this person who doesn't give a shit. And an hour later, all their excitement's been sucked out of them. That's the damage that can happen within your business. By the way, you know that happens in your life too, man. Who wants to hang out with people like that? So that's it, you guys. Again, bfssummit.com, Matt 400. You can get this book tonight. Go to mattmanero.com/grit download. Get this book on Amazon. You've been hearing me talk about it for 13 nights now. Between the books and the BFS Summit and the good content, it's time for you guys to pull the trigger and bust out your credit card and do something about it. I care about y'all. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.